Thank you. Thank you, guys. So I'm really excited to be here today because first, I have always loved the Strom Entrepreneurial Center. I love entrepreneurs. I am one. So this has just always been a fun thing for me. Plus, I'd like to be on a TED Talk one day. So this is really good experience. Does anyone know what this is? You? Anyone? Has anyone ever seen one of these things? All right, fair warning right now, I'm actually really cheesy. I'm a very cheesy person. So let's get that out of the way. All right, so this is like a mind game toy, right? And we all see how it's supposed to end, right? It's supposed to be a block. All right. This is one of the most frustrating toys in the world, in the absolute world, because you know how it's supposed to end, and yet whenever you actually get started, this thing is horrible because you'll make a lot of wrong decisions. You end up getting it twisted around, and it gets very frustrating. And one of the biggest things with it is that you kind of have to keep pushing through to get to that end result. And that's how I always see having a business. That is exactly how being a startup, having a startup, getting into that mindset, that's how this is. So with Troopster, I never thought I would own or start a company ever. That was not one of my plans. In fact, had it been my plan, I would have paid attention in business school way more. Like I would have gone to more of the classes. As she said, my name is Chelsea Mandello. I'm the founder and CEO of Troopster. Here is my QR code. If you would like to visit LinkedIn, connect with me, please. I'm always happy to talk with others outside of presentations. But I operate Troopster. Troopster is a nonprofit organization, even though we actually started a company. Since launching, we have sent, well, by the end of this year, we'll have sent over 30,000 care packages to troops that are deployed all around the world. We are veteran operated, and we have two primary business channels. The first is we have an online service where a mom or a dad, if they have someone who's deployed overseas, then they can go online to our site, pick more than 60 pre-made care packs. They can choose different items that they want to go in those packs. And we have a warehouse here right around the corner where we pack and fill those orders and send it overseas. Our other service is that we travel around nationwide and we hold employee team building events. So we go on like communities and we hold these volunteer events where anyone can make care packages for troops that are deployed who might not have family back home. So they might not have that family support system. This is our website. Sorry, I'm going to take a quick drink. Should have had the pizza. So on our site, as I said, moms or dads can visit it, and we have different options where they can personalize a pack or they can donate a care package. And I want you to know our site did not look this cool 5 years ago. Okay? Like no business starts out like this. All right? There's a lot of twists and turns and mistakes that you have to go through and that we're still going through to be able to evolve. But just to kind of explain how Troopster works a little bit more, we get an order. I want to send a care pack. We get it. We start to fill it, and then we ship it off overseas. Now that seems pretty straightforward, but nothing is straightforward with the military. So we had to navigate a lot when it came to supply chain, when it came to actual shipping methods. Do you guys know how to get a care package to a submarine? I do. Now I do. Not in year one, though. So it all kind of started with this idea. And that idea was, well, I want to help kids who are deployed, who are having a tough time. Because a care package isn't just a box with some items in it. It's an experience from home. When you're deployed, you are missing everything from back home. You're missing friends, you're missing weddings, you're missing, your nieces and nephews growing up. You're missing all of these experiences for 9 months, 11 months, sometimes years. And that's really tough. But since launching Troopster, we have grown year over year, more than 200%, which is really awesome because, guys, I started this out of my house, like my living room. But we'll get to that. So 32,000. Even though we're pulling troops out of Afghanistan, we are always forward deployed. So we always have 180,000 troops who are out there serving around the world. And those are the individuals that we're trying to reach. Because our overall vision, what we want to be, is that household name for military care packs. And that's kind of how you have to start anyway, right? You have an idea, you know what you want to do, but you got to focus it. But let's backtrack a little bit. Okay, so now you know where we are. You saw our pretty logo. That's nice. You got to see the site. I actually served in the Navy. So I served as a photojournalist, which is why you're going to see a lot of high-res images. But I had the best job. I mean, I really did. I got to travel around the world and tell the story of the military, not just the Navy. I would go out in the field with Army units. I'd be out there with Marines, with Air Force. And I mean, it was just profound to be able to see the versatility of the military. Such a cool job. You also stay in great shape when you're always moving like that. So it was a great job. And around 2013, I was working on my most difficult mission. We were in the Mediterranean for anti-piracy operations. So there are always pirates out there. And part of that is we have these teams called visit board search and seizures. So we come across a pirate vessel. We know that they're doing a lot of bad things. We send out a VBSS team. And that VBSS team are our guys with guns. And then there's always a photographer there to document. So overall, this was just a difficult mission. I was ready to go home. During that time, we were also facing sequestration. So what was originally a 6-month deployment became a year-long deployment. And can you imagine you're already away from home. You already know that you've missed your mom's birthday. I didn't get to go to the Kentucky Derby. I'm from Kentucky. That's a big deal. I wasn't going to get to go to that. But now we were going to miss Thanksgiving. We were going to miss Christmas. And on the ship was horrible. I mean, horrible. Crying in fan rooms. Horrible. And this day finally came where we were going to get mail. Mail is a big... I know it's not that important here because you get mail here, it's probably like a school bill or, other kind of bills, right? But mail on a ship is just, it's amazing. Mail being deployed is Christmas Day, right? So everyone's excited because it's finally Christmas in July. And we're all there and we're removing these thousands and thousands of packages and care packs onto the ship. And I get this big one from my mom. And I'm so excited because she knows exactly what I want. She knows I love chocolate. She knows I like blueberries. I mean, she can't send bourbon, but if she could, she would have. And I mean, she knows me, right? And I'm excited. So I rush it upstairs and I tear this thing open and I start going. And my heart immediately sinks because everything in it had gone bad. I mean, I could not catch a break. Here I am doing these things that I was scared. I was away from home. I missed my family. Now suddenly this thing I was really excited about just didn't make it. And I realized that I wasn't the only person that this had happened to. In fact, by the end of that day, there was a long, long line at the trash department of people just throwing away their care packs because it just didn't make it. Baked goods, if you sent glass, if you sent all of these things, nothing made it. And at that time, I just wanted to help my mom, right? 'Cause she's in rural Kentucky. This is tough for her. And so I go online and we have Google, we have Amazon. I mean, it's 2013, but it's 2013. And I realized there wasn't a single website that had care packs that someone like my mom could log into, build a pack, and send it to me. And that blew my mind. We have 2-day shipping. How is there not a care package site that supports the military? And so I start kind of kicking this around, and I've got another 6 months left on deployment. And so I start thinking, well, what would this imaginary company even look like? I mean, there are two things that I know for sure. The first is that I have no idea where to start. I've never started a business. I've never even thought about that. And I don't even if I start one, I have no idea how to grow it. But I know what I want to do. And this is something that's really important to me. So I start trying to figure things out. And I hope you don't mind. I like show and tell. So I just happen to have where I started, which was the Small Business Administration. A great website. If you're ever going to start a business, start with the SBA. And so I'll pass this around, but there is actually the things that to start a business. The first is write a business plan, right? So I start researching this out, and I put together what would this imaginary company look like, and I build out a business plan. So I've got my notes, and I have the first Troopster business plan. Now, this is a judgment-free zone, okay? Before anyone looks at it, judgment-free zone. We've come a long way. That's the point of the presentation, right? So when you're looking through this, you have to also know that I still was serving in the military. I got back from deployment. I've got this idea kicking around in my head, and I get stationed on shore, which I was really happy about. I'd been deploying a lot. I had an apartment I never saw. I think at one point I owned a cat. I'm not sure. So it was a lot. And now I'm on shore duty. And so I put this business plan together. I launched this company. And I remember I launched it Thanksgiving Day in 2015 because I had used all my leave. In the military, you have to ask if you want to go home. So it's called leave for those, just in case. So I used all of that, and so I'm here Thanksgiving. I remember calling my mom, sobbing, and one of my biggest fears was that I'm going to launch this site and get millions of orders. Because for some reason, whenever you start a company, that's always your first thought. Not that you're going to fail, but that you're going to over succeed and not be like. And I've heard from other entrepreneurs that they all did the same thing. For whatever reason, we just have that mindset. And so I launched this site, and I'm terrified. But I launched out of my house. And everything at that moment just gets really exciting and also really expensive. Fortunately, I still have a part-time, well, not full-time. Full-time, I'm fully I'm fully in the military. And I am, during lunch breaks, trying to read everything I possibly can on how to get this business up and running. And I start looking at anything that has to do with building a business, startups, entrepreneurs, the networks, and pitching. And so I learned about Boots to Business classes, which you could take while you were in the military. And I learned about 1 million cups, which if anyone knows about 1 million cups, it is the Shark Tank without teeth. So they're very nice to you, which is good because later on, whenever you start pitching and then they start throwing you really big questions about your finances and your team, you really want to have that kind of base for you. So I'm putting all of this together. And here's the part with the video. I don't know if it'll play. Oh. Okay, well, that was a Small Business Administration video that tells the story of start to launch and walking into the SBA with my business plan. And whenever you kind of go to the SBA or the VBOC or any of these groups, at first you're really kind of worried about it, right? Because you're going to these experienced individuals, you're pouring your heart out, and you're positive that this is a good idea. This is the first time you're actually sharing it with people. So it's a little scary. And one of the biggest things that I learned right off the bat was that you are never alone. You're never alone. And there are so many resources out there to help you. And so getting through that mindset that, all right, you don't have to do this by yourself, is definitely the first hurdle. And so year 1 through 3, I was trying to figure out not only who is my target market, how do I reach them, how do we improve, but also something really interesting started happening after the first year. So the first year we sent 32 orders. It was the coolest thing in the world. I was standing 24-hour watches and going home and filling care packs. It was cool. I had proven that I can do this. Right. Well, we've come a long, long way. But about a year into business, I started getting all of these letters from troops who didn't have anyone back home. And they were pretty much saying, hey, my friend got this care pack from your company. I actually don't have any family. Could you just donate one? Right? Well, I'm not high ranking in the military, and I'm already putting a lot of money into this business because I haven't learned about supply chains, bulk purchasing, economies of scale. I haven't learned about any of that, right? And so I start kind of formulating, well, maybe I can get things donated. And I start just running around town and asking people to donate things. Hey, Walmart, you should donate. Yeah, that's fun. Give me some chips, right? And I started hearing this word over and over, 501c3. 501c3. And I had no idea what that was, right? I didn't know why it was a magic word. And by the end of that year, I learned that if you want companies to donate, if you want to go down that path, you need to be this magical entity called a nonprofit because you have tax exempt status. You can work with those companies for contributions. And that was kind of new. That was kind of new to me. So at the end of that year, we ended up sending 500 donation care packages without necessarily a nonprofit. But the very next year, I was on this nonprofit game. And there we go. And started trying to figure it out. And I decided, well, how about I just launch another company? This one will do donations, and this one will be the one for the online sales. Because running one business is just too easy, right? So I launched these 2 organizations, and now I'm running a full nonprofit, a full for-profit, 2 completely separate books, which means completely separate everything. And I know that seems like, that's super easy. Has anyone taken a finance class? Accounting yet? Oh my gosh, and I hadn't yet. I still hadn't. So I was still trying to figure this stuff out, but it was a lot. But we were also still growing. So by 2018, we moved into our new building. I was really excited. It didn't have heating or air conditioning, but I was still excited. That was special. But I also started looking at what's called key performance indicators. So key performance indicators are your befores, your afters, all of the stats that you should pay attention to try and see which levers you need to pull. And I was seeing some really interesting things. I was seeing that, we were growing, but that also the donation aspect of Troopster and being able to support those who were deployed who might not have family, that was really important. That was something that people really value. And the year after that, I was part of the inaugural 757 accelerator here locally. And I'm going through this program, I'm running these 2 companies, and I learned that I can actually pull everything into one and have it all as a nonprofit. And that blew my mind. I also learned a little bit more about branding. Because as you can see from our first, we weren't exactly sure what should the logo be, what's the direction of this. And so by the end of the accelerator, not only did we come out as a full nonprofit, but we also fully rebranded. We went to more patriotic. We changed our logo, and we started following what was the brand for Troopster. So you've now seen how it started, and then this is our most recent About Us booklet for the branding. So we get on board with branding, but that doesn't make it any easier, because we start partnering, and that's good, and we're growing, and that's great. And one of our biggest revenue channels is that we travel the nation holding these events with sponsors. And what happens? COVID happens. Of course COVID happens, right? Nothing is easy. Come on. So at the beginning of 2020, we canceled 30 care packages nationwide. So San Diego, Texas, New York, just wipe them off the board. And all of it ended up reminding me of this little toy that I'm going to have to Google how to put back together later, right? Like that's a YouTube thing. But the biggest part of that is sometimes you just have to have grit. Use your network and have grit, because nothing is ever going to be easy. If anyone ever says it is, I want to meet them. But so moving forward from where we were to where we are now, we had to pivot. We had to adapt and change. Otherwise, we weren't even going to survive COVID. And a lot of businesses didn't. And for us, we were primarily volunteer-based. So there's always going to be those moments where you have to buckle down, you have to be willing to pivot, to change in order to grow. And that's kind of part of strategy as well. So my big points in taking you through that is that you should never be so in love with your own idea that you aren't willing to pivot or change. That's absolutely the first thing. The second is you always have a network of supporters around you, and you should use them. You should absolutely find that network and those mentors, because that is what's going to really help any company to thrive. You want to be able to use the experience of others who have already been through this, who already have their own companies, and who can help you navigate those challenging times. And the third one is that you never know unless you try. That Thanksgiving Day, when I was talking to my mom, I wasn't going to push that button, because I'm also a bit of a perfectionist. And there were a million other things that I still needed to do with that website. But my mom told me that if I was waiting for it to be perfect, that day would never come. And she was right. She was absolutely right. And so you have to always be willing to try. And if you don't try, you'll just never know. So thank you guys. I really am glad to be here, and I look forward to questions. I also would like to show you what our current care packs look like. So please pass it around. These are some of the items that we currently send, and I love them. Actually, this is like one of my favorite things. It's a grenade of hot sauce. How cool is that? What? Man. Yeah, we work with a lot of veteran companies, so I love it. So all right. So that's my story. That's who I am. What have you guys got for me? And are we like business students? Are we kinda? Maybe. It's a mix. Okay, what else are we? Biochemistry. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Yeah. Hey, I'm a creative designer, so that's, yeah. What do you got? Okay. Man, I feel like between all of us, we could start a new business. Yeah, I mean, biochemistry, yeah, engineering, design. I mean, yeah, any marketing? Yeah.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
So what was your scariest moment? Like when you're like,
oh, yes. Yeah. So the question was, what was my scariest moment? And you go through so many. You really, really do. I mean, pushing that button was very, very scary. There was some times after year 3 where I was getting out of the military, and so I was no longer going to have that income. I was no longer going to have that military paycheck, and so Troopster had to pay me. You know, I needed to become an employee. And it wasn't so much that I was afraid of it not being able to support me. I was afraid that it would hurt Troopster, you know, because that's your baby. You know, you don't want to take anything from it, right? Yeah, and so that was a scary first step for me.
Can you talk a little bit more about having employees in a nonprofit?
Yes. So the question was asking to talk more about having employees in the nonprofit setting and how that works. So initially, I actually just had volunteers who would come. They would help me pack care packages, and then I realized that I was wearing so many hats, and it was kind of driving me bonkers. Right? Like at one point, I thought, okay, if I put a day bed in the office, I'm going to know if I sleep here. Like it got to that level, right? I'm still at that level sometimes. So, and so I'm my first employee. One thing that people kind of always confuse is that they think that because you're a nonprofit, you're not a business. You don't operate like a business. So they don't see it as, well, you don't have competitors. You don't have profit and loss statements. You don't have to, you know, pay for expenses or pay for these, and that's just not true. Like honestly, like it really runs just like a business. I have every nonprofit out there is my competitor, right? And then also Amazon is my competitor. Other companies that send care packages are my competitor. I have so many competitors, right? But that's one of those things, and it also comes up with employees. Because a lot of times there's an assumption that if you're a nonprofit, you shouldn't have to pay staff members. It's just like any job. If you can pay someone full time to be there to be able to help you, then they can throw in all the time. While as volunteers might not have that ability, that capability. And so I started off by bringing on part time because we weren't able to really afford more. And then as we've grown, we've been able to hire more full-time staff, part-time, and even bring on interns, which is exciting. I love interns. If any of you want to do an internship, you talk to me. Okay? So, did that answer the question? I think it, okay. What else have you got? Biochem. What do you got for me? I'm not very good at biochem. So don't ask me a chemistry question. Whoa. Okay, so she is curious about logistics. Oh my gosh, what a pain in the neck. No, you're fine. You're not a pain in the neck. Oh, so logistics are up there with our supply chain development, and getting started was a challenge because we had to figure out how to coordinate with military post offices. We had to figure out whenever a package got lost, what do we do about it? Who do we call? Because the post office does not answer your calls, right? They are not. Oh, girl, I've got like so many rules that I can break out. You know, they are responsible at a certain point. But here's what you really need to have if you're going to work with the U.S. Postal Service is a rep. You want to get someone's phone number, and that's your person that you text. That's the secret, actually. Yeah, get a postal rep. But so maneuvering logistics was a combination of working with mentors, with other startups who were a little older than us, who'd already seen, who already knew what to do and how to do it. They'd already been down that road. So having those mentors, going through utilizing that network to be able to, all right, you are overpaying for products or you are overpaying for shipping. Here is how you navigate to bulk shipping prices, to economies of scale. This is a distributor and a supplier so that you're not paying $5 just for the cardboard of the box. But, I mean, really using that network for logistics, supply, and all of it, that helped us a lot. Ugh, I still, man. Yes. Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah. I had to learn QuickBooks Online. I've had to really dive into accounting. You end up, when you first start, you have a lot of hats. You're wearing a lot of hats. You're watching a lot of YouTube videos on how to do stuff. And that's kind of when either part-time employees, or if you're not to that level yet, you can also utilize like Fiverr or virtual assistants. You can hire a virtual assistant who can help with almost anything. You can get a virtual assistant to help you with finances. You can get a virtual assistant that helps with emails, that'll take phone calls, that if you do customer service, you can get a virtual assistant who helps with customer service. So utilizing online resources like that is also really, really helpful. That can help to take away some of those. Does she have a small business right now? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. Uh-huh. Mm. Mm. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's just something where at the point you start handing things off to individuals, you start developing SOPs, so standard operating procedures, and there are so many awesome apps and platforms that aren't expensive that can help you with that stuff. This is fun. That's okay. This is pretty much like starting a business. Like anything can happen. It just, man. Only, right. I bet this hasn't happened all day, has it? See?
So I have a question. Have you been hampered with supply chain issues due to COVID and getting the products in boxes?
Extensively. Yeah. So we had just started ordering some of our products from overseas. So products like shaker bottles, sunglasses, things like that. We were getting those from overseas. And when everything happened, we went from a timeline that'll be there in 4 weeks to we're not really sure, and we know you need it by this date. We hold the right to refund you a week out. I mean, it hurt us immensely. So we had to source from places that we could actually get it. But then we're also paying more. So we're now paying a heck of a lot more for shipping. We're paying a heck of a lot more for the products because everyone is doing the same thing. We all know that supply chain right now is horrible. So anything that we can get local, prices have tripled. So that has been an immense challenge because something that I really don't want to do is I don't want to increase our prices. I don't want to do a pass-through cost. So that's something that is a current obstacle that we are facing. How can we navigate this without hurting our end user? Mm-hmm. You had your hand up too.
Yeah. Were you ever deployed at any point after you started this business, and were you still trying to manage it as that was going on? Mm-hmm. How did that work exactly?
So I did not deploy when I started. I did wait until I was on shore duty. So when I was still actively deploying, that's when I was developing the business plan. And then whenever I hit shore, I was able to put my time into it. I still traveled a little bit, but not overseas. So, like going to Hawaii or Florida, big difference from like Djibouti and Jordan. Yeah, I got lucky, basically. What other questions we got? Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes. So his question, I never know if I should wait. Like when it stops, I'm going to answer you real fast. Oh my gosh. Yikes. So his question is that have I had competitors, or I'm sorry, have I had customers that I've been able to take away from competitors? Well, a game that I love playing 2 games, right? My first game that I love playing is let's turn a 1-star review into a 5-star review. I love that game. I'm not kidding. My employees think I'm nuts. I love 1-star reviews. Like, guys, I love 1-star reviews. I love them. And here's why: you should never be afraid of a 1-star review, because a 1-star review tells you something that you're not seeing, right? A 1-star review lets you know that, hey, your employees aren't getting these packs out fast enough, right? Or, hey, the products in the packs were expired. I don't want that, right? So I love, whenever I get a 1-star review, I call them. We're best friends. Like, I want you on my team. That's a game I play. I love it. But another one is I really enjoy looking at competitors, seeing what they're doing, and how can I be better. So you're charging $70 for that box. I know everything that's in that box. I know where you get those products. I can do better. I can cut that cost in half, and I do. So yes, we have acquired other customers, and that's also something that I greatly enjoy. I just want to be the best. Yeah.
Do you have what's in the future? Is there something else that you're trying to add or change?
Well, right now I'm trying to get a Rivian, which is it's a car. Sorry, I should. What? Yes. Me too. Girl. Yeah. It's an electric vehicle that rivals Tesla, but something that they're part of the model is that years before they even started, building the buzz about their vehicle, they were partnering with national parks and services and putting charging stations in national parks. So when they launched their vehicles, that was their thing, is that Tesla has to stay around the cities, but Rivian can go anywhere. And I think that we should partner with Rivian, because we're going to be delivering care packs everywhere, all around the Bay, right? I can see it. But to actually answer your question of the future of Troopster, so we're working on having product partner. So there are a lot of product companies that are trying to reach the military market, and we offer that capability. So we're trying to develop more product partners to have cool products into our care packs. We're also looking at more partners to brand the boxes, so we can actually have 3,000 care packages that are sponsored by Jersey Mike's or by Unilever. And so we can offer those kind of partnerships, and it helps us, it helps the troops, because it helps us to support more individuals who are deployed. And remember, there's 180,000 out there, always deployed. So there's always going to be that need. But looking past that, we're also looking at more partnerships to get care packs to those at home for military spouses, because that's kind of a side that sometimes isn't seen. You've got the military members who are deployed and having a tough time, but you also have military spouses who have just moved 3,000 miles from home. They're in a whole new market. Their husband or wife has just left for deployment, and they are in this new area. They have no idea what to do, and that is tough. Like that's difficult. So we're trying to get care back kits going as well. I had just lots of ideas rattling around up there. You really don't want to get me started.
Do you have a way that you can add like your own personal touches, like photos or anything like that?
So yeah, so the question was if we had a way that people can add their own personal touches. Yes, we do. Yeah, it's something that I really enjoy. Actually, I love doing it. I like making care packs. They can pick and customize letters, and we've partnered with some really cool companies where you can pick from 1,000 cards, and we can in our office print that exact card and have the letter included. And we also have we can print photos. We also do like small things. Like if there's something that you don't see on the website, but you really know your troop loves, let's say Oreo Twinkies. I will go and find you an Oreo Twinkie to include in that care pack. So we try to really offer that personal touch. Yes.
I have a question related to the one-star reviews. And it might not be directly relevant. I'm going to preface this with a little story.
Okay.
When going on Amazon, I have seen some awful reviews that were based on custom components. For example, a pH meter that they tried to calibrate it with water over the course of days.
Gotcha. Yep.
Have you ever had any reviews that were just absolutely so mind-bogglingly irrelevant to your company that it was like you can't even help them?
Okay. So the question is about one-star reviews. If you ever get a one-star review that is out of your control, basically, right? Okay. Well, what you don't do is you don't call them an idiot. So let's get past that bar. We have had instances like that where we are, especially one in particular that comes to mind is when we're here in the States, we shipping is fast, right? Like 2-day shipping, right? Sometimes same-day shipping. And the fact is that when you're overseas, it can take anywhere between 4 weeks to 3 months to get shipping. And we've had customers who personally hold us responsible. But I do not have a drone as much. Want one? I have no control over that, right? One day I will have a Troopster thing though, but yeah. And the best way to navigate that is plies. Be open and honest and say, I absolutely understand the frustrations. We completely agree. We really want to improve this, but it's out of our control. And you have to always look, and I tell my guys this too, but always look at it from the customer's perspective, right? Look at it from the user's perspective. No one is trying to be a bad guy, right? Like if any of us have ever left a bad review, it's not because we're bad people. It's because for whatever reason in that instance, we're so angry and we want to do something about it, right? We just want to fix it. And so they're not bad people, right? No one is bad people. I'm a glass half full kind of person, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. And so just be patient, be understanding, and try to see it from their perspective. And I think that if you always try to take that perspective, no matter what your business is, that it'll help. So probably long-winded. Sorry. I get passionate. Yes, sir.
How you're gonna go about it, like deal with the competitors and all that.
Yes. So the question was how much time I spent on the strategy, on the development, and the execution. And so initially when I was developing the business plan, I worked on that for 2 years. 2 solid years, really figuring out who the demographic was, who they do, where do they live, how often are they shopping on their cell phones, vice desktop computers, and getting that base up and running took a lot of time. But you are always having to revisit. And that's where key performance indicators come in. So keeping track, we look at our key performance indicators and our sales every week. Every Monday, we look at, okay, how many sales did we have last week compared to the week before that and year over year, right? If it's dipping, why is it dipping? Where are they going? And so you're always having to redevelop the strategy and reconsider that execution. Yeah. Right. Yeah, because I was on deployment in 2013, and between 2013 and 2015, I was just making that lovely, wherever it is. Yeah, and you see the difference, right? Like it came a long way. I don't know if did you get to see the before and after? I got you. Don't worry about that. Here you go. So this is 2013, and here we go. This was last year. Oh, you weren't supposed to look at that one first. There you go. Yes, so the base 2 years. Because you kind of also have to figure out, what the business model is going to be. And then, oh gosh, you start reading books, you start reading about the lean model canvas. I'd never heard of that before. Oh, it's just there's so much information. I started listening to How I Built This, podcasts, and you're just inundated with information, and you got to do everything, and there's only you.
Did that ever get too much? Now you're just like, I just want to do it and execute.
Yeah. Yes, it definitely gets too much, and I want to just do it and execute. Yes. Yeah, very frequently, my team. What is Haley? Haley, who's one of my staff members, she says that I. What is she? She says that I go on Chelsea side trips, or like I'll be on the main path of, okay, guys, this is what we're gonna do, and then Rivian, right? So I do that all the time. Yeah.
In terms of like packaging, is there anything you guys have had to do that other companies like Amazon haven't had to do? Because I imagine maybe some of the conditions would be different. Like you have like planes landing on carriers. Is that more potentially like damaging to the items that you're shipping out there?
So we certainly have to consider what packaging we have to use. Usually the companies, when they know that it's going to an APO or FPO address, they secure it properly. Like usually anyone who is sending overseas, there are rules that you have to follow to make sure it gets there. But for the boxes in general, that was a learning process. Because when I first started, I was buying these things, at $5 just for the box, and I didn't know anything about material or packaging. And so in the first year, we actually did a series of tests to see what boxes and materials could go through. And is anyone here in the military? Navy? Military? Okay, I'm gonna tell you how mail gets delivered. Well, especially at sea. So we're out in the ocean, and you have another ship that comes on alongside of you, right? And you've been coordinating this for weeks, right? Because you have to find a safe area. There's no pirates. There's no danger. So you're coming alongside, and you have to keep a steady pace, right, of going, because you can't just stop. So you have to keep going. And the way we get mail from this ship to this ship is a helicopter. Sorry, I do that sometimes. Helicopter, fly it over, and at about 75 to 50 feet, just drop it. So all of that mail, and it's in this big satchel, just gets plummeted, right? Whatever's in there, I mean, they knew what they were asking for before they sent it to the military, right? And so that is our operating procedure. And whenever those things get dropped, we have like a team on the flight deck that has to run and grab that net, because sometimes we do this during like stormy weather when the ships are rocking. I have seen mail bundles go over the ship, and that is the saddest day. That is that is the Amazon package I've been waiting for 6 weeks. That one's mine. That's sad. But we had to do like stress tests on our boxes, because that's something that it's always the small things in business that you have to consider, right? So there's always something. So I prefer not to send anything that can melt or go bad. We really try to stick to things that aren't perishable. For chocolates, because people love chocolate. I love chocolate. And we also have some vegan peanut butter cups. Yeah, we also supply for vegans and everyone, keto. But if we do have to send it, we have to look at seasonality. So if it's colder, we can send it. It's the middle of summer. I can't send you that stuff. It's gonna be horrible. Yeah. So we do have to consider that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, guys, this was fun. Thank you so much. If you do want to reach out to me again, please feel free.